at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And when he'd finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the dark, the gambler, he broke even. In his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. Know when to fold up, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
Welcome everybody to USL Live Season 26, the preseason and Week 1 prediction show. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host this evening. Joining me tonight, I'm pleased to welcome some fresh faces, starting with Fausto.
Hello, hello.
Easoe.
Yo.
And Angelus.
Yo.
And some returning faces in Grump.
Hello.
And Splittah.
How's it going, boys?
What's going on, guys? Since Bowen's PC apparently died, and in honor of everybody's time, I'm just going to do kind of like the TLDR of the major rule change this offseason, which was, of course, once again to the baseline rules. Essentially, it was at 3 minutes, it was voided for everybody. You could double back into your own base, etc. It is now changed to players cannot cross enemy baselines until they are voided, and you may never go back into your own baselines under any circumstances. Apart from EC this season, we are still waiting to see what other maps will be selected, but based on the current poll, it looks like the second map right now might be KS10, and then I don't know if it's 3 or 4 maps possibly this season. I know Bowen kind of tossed out the idea of a 4th, but I'm thinking it should stay at 3, but we'll see. But let's just jump right into our squad breakdowns and possible key players for each team, starting in alphabetical order of the squads. We'll discuss the projected ranks later, starting with Cocaine. Fausto?
I think it's going to be obviously one of the top squads. We have just, I think, 2 top squads this season. I don't know if this is the alphabet squad, the number squad, but it looks like Jersey Boys version 2 or version 3. I'm not too sure how long these guys have stuck together over the seasons, but I do like the leadership on here with Pister and co-leading with Splittah. I think they're going to be I know we're not going to talk about seeding yet, but they're definitely going to be top 2 teams going into the season.
All right, Easoe?
Yeah, definitely agreed there as far as number 2 seed. I do see them kind of struggling probably against K-Dude. Everybody else they should not have any issues with. But yeah, it's going to finish number 2 as far as players to look out for. I'd definitely say the Mountain is going to be a big one. Whether that's shot calling or, breaking open battles, he's kind of going to be in the forefront of all that. Also, definitely look for K to, bust out some mortars and then Split and Pister to kind of shot call and get everybody in the right position. But yeah, definitely see them, finishing up as the number 2 squad.
All right, Angelus, I know you don't really know many players and what they might entail, but you can feel free to piggyback off of Grump or just kind of go off of reputation, I guess.
Yeah, I've had a handful of conversations with like Yosh and Grump, the guys that play this zone traditionally and know everyone. So I also think this is the number 2 squad we're talking about in Cocaine. I know Pistor from like CTF, but I mean, running into Pistor and CTF versus USL is a very different experience. Same with Mountain. Mountain's been in CTF recently, but I ran into Mountain just last night and I'm trying to learn skirmish, and this guy just dropped me on the floor like 20 times. So I can say they're a lot better than me based on what I'm hearing from others. They're around the rank 2 squad, and we'll see how close that is.
Fair enough. Grump?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a very clear number 2 squad. The players to look out for, I want to see Spartacus. He's never played since I've been back. So I'm excited to see him, but, expect Easoe to perform, expect Mountain to perform. Pister's a great leader.
again, they would be a number one possibility if K-Dude didn't exist. So
Fair. Split.
Yeah, I'd like to say first and foremost that Spartacus Dave is a spec pussy, so we don't expect him to show. But we do love him. We kind of hope that he does show. The players that I do expect to kind of make a huge difference this season, outside of the obvious, like Kev, etc., would be Easoe. Because he just joined us as well as he was a top player last season. I think with him, we'd probably be even way better than we were last season in terms of kills. Then you add in obviously Kev, Melton, those two players. Last season were just exceptional. Kevin, I was hyping him up because he was doing more than I've ever seen him do in the past. Not to mention that I've ever seen any player pull off in a singular season when it comes to breaking open battles. So I expect big things from Kevin. Pister's leading too was exceptional. I think we'll end up being number 2 seed. The obviously we'll talk about K-Dude next, but right now I have us as projected number 2.
All right, fair enough. And yeah, no, I kind of already did my breakdowns on the site, so I'm gonna forego that. So we're gonna go right into Dark Slayers next. Fausto, your team.
Yes, my team. So, a couple of things I want to point out is I think are we the only returning squad? I'm pretty sure into season 25. So I guess we're the veterans right now as a team. So I want to give that shout out over to Dark Slayers for sticking around, and the majority, I would say, 95% of the roster hasn't changed, which is you don't see very often, right? I think we're right now in the middle, so to speak, just based off the level of players and skill that the top 2 squads have. Obviously, we've shown last season that we can go up against birds. Now, mind you, I think Eric, you called it, where we can slow it down, play a little smarter, and really compete with the big boys, so to speak. I think we have a good head on our shoulders. We keep toying with different support classes, but we do have some killers in our squad. I think Typhoon has performed excellent last season. I know people are given and ready for Molo to really shine going into season 25. But I will say, Angelus, that these guys have bloodlust for your squad this season, and that's all the Discord chat is about micro data going down. So be prepared.
All right, Easoe.
Yeah, this is probably the squad I'm most excited to see as far as this upcoming season. I expect them to finish number 3. I do think that they're going to have issues with the top 2 squads in Cocaine and K-Dude. But I do think they're going to do really well against all the other squads. Finish up number 3, like I said. As Fausto mentioned, which is pretty cool, they had literally almost every single player come back. I'd have to double check. Not sure if they probably added 1 or 2, but I mean, they got the core, right back, ready to get back into it. And, following a really, really good playoff performance, I look, forward to seeing Fausto definitely, continued his solos, his one-on-ones, pretty much destroying Fax last season. Sorry, Fax. And then also definitely Typhoon and then Manu are going to be the next main, players, not so much just, kill wise, but also leading, breaking open battles, positioning. Look for those 3 to definitely, put up good seasons, and they'll definitely be leading Dark Slayers.
All right, cool. And Angelus, I know these are kind of like your sister squad, if you will, of a bunch of CTFers with a little bit of mixed SK veteranship. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, so I know 6 or 7 of them from CTF, 20 years ago, and then more recently last year. I'm friends with most of them, I feel like. As far as having, the bloodlust to take us down and everything, I'd love to match that and create all this heat and stuff, but I don't think we're going to be ultra competitive in our first go at it. They were nice enough to play with us yesterday, and I think we lost by about 100. I'm not sure if that's good or bad in the zone, but that's what happened. But we're looking forward to continue playing with them, even though they have this undying hatred for us. They do seem willing to help us, so I still have multiple PMs with their members of like tips and tricks on how to play the zone. So maybe eventually we build some rivalry here, but this may be a little one-sided this season. Based on what I've heard, they're contending for the number 3 spot. I wish I could say maybe they're gonna go number 2, but I just don't know enough about the zone. Like I've not seen Cocaine play. I don't know how strong they are. So somewhere between 2 and 3, but my teammates are telling me they're gonna land at 3.
All right, Grump.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously again on the side of the fence that's quite hated by this squad. But that being said, like a lot of these members are some of my idols growing up playing in SL, like Fly Molo and Typhoon or sorry, not Typhoon, but Fly Molo and Phony and Chuck were some of my favorite players. So like I'm always gonna love these guys, even if they hate my fucking guts. So that being said, I do think I also expect to see them come third. Um, I have a hard time imagining them beating Cocaine, and the K-Dude squad just became a lot stronger than all the squads that it was made out of this season. So I really see these guys coming third, and I don't think the bottom three really stand up to them.
Okay, Split.
Yeah, I have these guys as number 3 as well. They, in terms of leadership, I think they compete with pretty much everybody. They have Fausto, they got Manu, they got Typhoon. Typhoon last season played amazing. I mean, hands down, excellent performance. He went up like at least 2 levels. He was literally in contention with MVP level legacy. Just to give you an idea of what kind of performance he was putting up. They competed with Birds on multiple occasions, not to mention the fact that they were always steadily improving. We saw last season before that they were getting better and better. This season, I would imagine the same. I would imagine that they would be in contention. They might even cause an upset. You know, then you have the fact that the Ranger class got changed. Chuck coming back, that's going to obviously make another difference. So I expect big things from them right now. I mean, it's potentially right now I say 3, but you know, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Angelus said it's kind of a one-sided beef. I'm a stir it a little bit just because I know Tyrell's already mad at me for not joining Dark Slayers. I think that these guys could possibly, in the second half of the season, fall to their CTF brethren in Macrodata. But I digress. We will move on to Evolution. Fausto?
One, I want to give a shout out to Bowen for bringing another squad into the league. I saw them SB a couple of nights ago, and it was pretty rough. Mind you, it was against Cocaine, and they lost by over 80 or 90 in the 2 SBs that I saw. That's not to say that what I did like was that I was on their Discord, and they are trying to win, and that goes a long way in this game. Smackrock was leading. Bowen was vocal. Chica was vocal. And so I'm excited to see what Bowen kind of pieces together from when he had a captaincy of Nexus. I think if they really slow it down, play smart, set up some ambushes and or some plays, not at their baselines obviously because of the rules, but close to their base, so it can be, you know, slow the tempo down is what I'm trying to say. I do see them struggling to beat any of the top 3 squads, but I do see them maybe getting a win or 2 this season if it goes in their favor.
Alrighty, Easoe.
Yeah, kind of echoing what Fausto said there. Want to give him a huge thanks for coming into the league, starting up a squad. A special shout out to Bowen. Do have a different take from Fausto though. I have a trouble seeing them honestly beat any squad, and that includes macro data. I have a feeling they're going to finish number 6 this season. Like I said, I feel like they're going to struggle a lot. I've seen them SB a few times, and it was pretty rough. I just feel like by end of season, macro data will probably get a little bit better and definitely push for that 5 seed, and Evolution ends up in the 6 seed. As far as players, look out for Chica. That's probably their best player, best medic for sure. And then after that, I would probably honestly say like, Mosh, Draco are going to be another 2 Marines or LMG, whatever they decide to play, to look out for. But yeah, definitely, I have them unfortunately finishing in the 6 seed.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, I can't say a whole lot about this one. Honestly, the only player I know on this squad is MP. I'll probably just defer to Grump, who probably knows some of these folks. I don't want to give a random prediction here.
Yeah, that's fair. Go ahead, Grump.
Yeah, it's a squad full of really nice players, really nice guys. I don't have anything bad to say about all of them. For standout players, I'm excited to see what Big Lofi brings to the table. Just another CTF vet who I guess there wasn't room on any of the other CTF rosters for him, but so excited to see what he can bring to the table. But I'm gonna have to side with Easoe on this one. I have a hard time seeing them go anywhere but sixth. But that being said, I'm ready to be surprised.
All right, Split.
Yeah, I have Evo as number 6 as well. I think that Bowen, leading, he actually does a pretty decent job leading. Obviously, we're seeing, that they're having their difficulties kind of expected. But Bowen's leading, I would say, is not bad. Inclusive with that, I think Mosh is a really good player, and Draco too. So there's a potential, maybe even that he can get a win. So I could see that potential, especially since Macro Data hasn't had any games under their belt really right now. So, there's still potential that Evo could beat Macro Data, Of course, we know that Macro Data has more skilled players, but getting used to USL, like we know, is really difficult, just like any other league. So they still have the upset capacity there. But definitely would be looking forward to that match in particular.
Fair enough, and I'll touch a little bit on these guys. I would love to see Mosh and Draco actually be active. Mosh has had a habit of in the past joining a squad and then kind of disappearing into the abyss. So if he shows and Draco shows and they're both active, I mean they've got the chemistry from Warhawks together, and they can do pretty good damage on like a flank team together, and possibly, like you guys already said, get that win over Macro Data. But after these guys, next up is Bax's squad. I'd ask Fausto to pronounce this since apparently it's Spanish, but we all know he can't speak Spanish. So Fausto, go ahead.
Okay, so let me correct you right there real quick, Eric. I'm going to be talking Bax's
no
squad.
offense. I heard that Fausto doesn't speak Spanish. I just was told that. I'm not sure if it's true.
Know your role and be quiet, please.
Okay, sorry about that.
I'm talking about Bax's squad called Francotiradores. Francotiradores is the name of this squad. Okay, gentlemen, that's how you pronounce it. You got to roll that R. I know Alonso can do it. Anyways, another shout out to Bax for creating a squad in about 48 hours, I would say. 48 hours. Good job to Bax. Love him or hate him, I guess he has 13 other people that love him, so I'm glad he created the squad. I'm excited to see what Sabotage and Pandy do. I mean, obviously we know that Sabotage got MVP in the champ game, and people always doubt my boy Pandy, but when you're one of the top players on a weaker squad, you really shine. Pandy's been used to playing with some very strong support Marines and LMG and whatnot. So I think he's gonna have a breakout season this season, as long as he stays active. I think I'm gonna put these guys at number 4. I want to say that this is the first time Bax's squad isn't placed in the last spot. No hate to Bax, but hopefully it doesn't go to his head being number 4. So I'm excited to see what these guys do.
All right, Easoe.
Yeah, Francotiradores. Excited for this squad. Shout out to Bax, like Fausto had mentioned, making a squad pretty much 24, 48 hours. Got a lot of players, a lot of good players as well. Definitely the best squad he's ever had, and it's going to be interesting to see how he leads these guys. One issue I do see is I feel like, especially a lot of these top players have more experience than him, so it's going to be kind of a little bit of a challenge in the leading department. But as far as seeding, I got these guys finishing off with the number 4 seed, as Fausto had mentioned. I could see them definitely causing some upsets and beating, maybe 1 or 2 of the, top squads, but they will definitely handle, Evolution and Macro Data. They shouldn't have any issues at all with that. As far as top players, on this squad, I would say Stavidine easily. Best medic, probably best player as well, if you were to, rating wise. And then also look for Sabotage to be leading in kills, opening up all the battles, getting the angles. And then also, like Fausto had mentioned, Pandy. He, as everyone knows, playoff Pandy. I feel like this is the season where he's actually, definitely going to shine, and it's going to show us that, he still has that inside of him, the deadliest. But yeah, they'll finish up at number 4.
All right, fair enough. Angelus?
Yeah, I'm familiar with a few of these guys, like Jim, pings 220. I don't know what that's like in skirmish, but it's hilarious to watch in CTF. I've recently come to know Sabotage the past couple CTF leagues we've had. He's been on squads that I've been kind of helping out and whatnot practice. Really nice guy, pays attention and well. I don't know how skilled they are in skirmish, so I'm just not sure. And I also know Bax a little bit. He's coming off his first CTF Draft League championship, I think. So shout out for that. I've also heard from my squad they're predicted to be in the 4 spot, so I'll go right there.
All right, Grump?
Yeah, I mean this is a very impressive roster from Bax. Stavadine, I agree with Easoe, is probably the best player on this roster, and probably the best med in the league unless Iron is playing med. Other than that, Sabotage is a big shout out. Pandy, always you can look out for him to have a good game. And Oct, could show up here and there. I'm surprised to see him on a squad with Bax again, given whatever happened last season. I never really followed it. SK, I'm told, is also a good leader, so who knows how that's going to shape out during the season. I feel kind of disadvantaged going after Kelby, being that the person that's telling him that they're going to go fourth, and all his other ratings have been me. So I keep repeating what he's saying. But yeah, that's I put them at fourth.
That's fair. Split?
Yeah, I would put them at number 4 as well. In terms of like skill per player, like player skill, they're really good. I mean, you have Sabo, you got Pandy, you got Stav. Both, I mean, all these players are really like, exceptional players that have won titles. Sab was like MVP level last season. He literally had the highest kills even in the last game. Stav, last time he played, he was like the top medic in the game. Then you add in the fact that you have Hop in there and Oct. They can be very dangerous in terms of skill, right? But like how everybody was saying, it all comes down to leadership, and I'm going to have to quote Havoc on this one. Franco Tiradores have the kind of leadership that will spend 2 hours working on a play for Titan and choose the opposite side come game time. So that's the issue right now. They don't have any leadership. Bax, as good as of an individual skilled player as he is, he's not much of a leader in my opinion. So that's where it's going to kind of boil down to, that leadership situation. I do wonder who could take that role over outside of Bax, because I mean I'm sure Bax doesn't even want to lead, and I think that's going to be the struggle that they're going to have throughout this whole season.
Yeah, I'll touch base just because Easoe brought up a good point about the whole playoff Pandy thing. I would say that we see playoff Pandy the most when he's already on like the top tier squad, like in the top 2, right? I think playing with a slightly weaker roster will dial him in a little bit more, and you might see the return of deadliest player Pandy. I also think that Pandy used to lead a little bit for SE. Pandy could possibly lead this group, and let Bax just focus on killing as an LMG. SK, while a capable leader, he's kind of like Mosh. He'll show up for like a week or two and then fade into the abyss. If he was active and showed up and led these guys, they'd be all right. But my understanding is that Bax will more than likely lead, and much like most of us, if we're leading, our play takes a dip, right? So yeah, these guys are probably going to be fourth. But moving on to K-Dude. Fausto, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty quick, your analysis. Number 1 squad, just based off skill and leadership. I mean, I think their biggest weakness is who's the starting 8. If everybody shows up. You got one of the top leaders, plenty of top killers on the squad, top medics. I mean, I don't really see a weakness here. I think Eric, TG are going to be able to focus on killing, which is going to open up the battle even more. I'm assuming Eric's going to finally be able to get those effective solos like he did a few seasons ago, which really annoyed the fuck out of me when he was AT. Soft taking the leadership role. I mean, yeah, my biggest weakness is who's the top 8. Who are the starting 8? So I'm going to wait for Eric to respond to that one during his turn.
Easoe?
Yeah, it's definitely the number one seed here, by far. Best medics, best Marines, best leadership, you name it. The only issue, or not even a weakness, I would say just the issues. I think Eric kind of touched on it earlier. Is who's going to show up week to week? Some weeks, I know Eric's probably not going to be there the first few weeks. And I wouldn't say like they have a set starting eight yet. That's probably going to be more towards playoffs when you're going to see all those top guys show up. And as Fausto mentioned, it'll be very interesting to see who they go with as far as their top eight. But yeah, they're definitely the top squad. And as far as players to look out for, definitely, of course, Iron is probably one of the hardest people, let alone med to kill. I think if Sav shows up and actually plays a full season, he likes to take, like a lot of the easier matches, he'll sub himself out, or sometimes he won't show to every single match. But if he does, I feel like he's going to be in contention for deadliest, probably end up winning it. But it's kind of hard to say who's going to be, those top players on the squad just because they got so many, but definitely going to finish number one. I honestly feel like it'll be a disappointment if they even lose a game. That will probably be more likely during week one, but yeah, I don't even see them losing a game during regular season, especially not in playoffs.
All right, Angelus?
Yeah, again, I know a handful of these guys from CTF. I've known Sav and Iron forever. I've recently got to know Tactical through the draft leagues. Tactical was actually the first person that messaged me when I said, hey, we may start a squad. But then like an hour later, he was reaching out offering help if we need anything. So really appreciative of that. I've heard the same as everyone else is saying. I guess this is what's considered a stack squad in skirmish. So they are the undoubted one seed going in.
Fair enough. Grump?
Yeah, this feels like the Avengers have assembled to kill Thanos, except Thanos forgot to show up. Like I don't know what to say about this. Like this is the 11 best players in the league have all decided to join one team and just put everybody's noses in the dirt. I think the hardest part of evaluating this roster is looking for whoever the worst player is on it, because that's it's impossible. So one seed, don't have a lot else to say.
Fair enough. Split?
Yeah, I mean, like how everyone said, they're by far number one. I mean, we never seen a squad put together like this since honestly maybe SOE days, right? When you had SFO and SF and etc. This type of level caliber players being put in together it's crazy, because you have Sav, which we know was and is currently the best player. Then you have TG, which kind of took that reign recently, defeating Sav. Not saying that he's better than Sav, just saying that there was TG's reign. So then now you have them both together. So in terms of leadership, they're number one. You look at their skill, they're number one there too. The only thing that's question mark is their medic department. Obviously, you have Iron and you have Slav, which are both exceptional players. But I do think that Cocaine might match them on that level. That's probably the only thing that's probably there. Outside of that, I do think that they're going to probably win every single game, and that if they lose a single game, that they should dissolve the whole squad.
All right. To touch on what Fausto was saying, first and foremost, I believe Sav actually isn't leading. It's still going to be TG. So Sav is just going to be a pure killer. That's at least to my understanding through what's been discussed. In regards to what Splittah was saying about the medics, after Fausto bullied Fax so bad in the playoffs, Fax is returning to his main role as a medic. So you're probably looking at Iron, Fax, and then with substitutions going around depending on week-to-week stuff, Staley and Slob sliding in as medic. Although Slob does want to play demo, so we might see that. I don't know who the starting eight's going to be. I honestly don't. We just have, like you guys have said, stacked roster. Chris is probably going to show up for playoffs. Who knows what it's going to be, because like you guys, I really don't either. But yeah, it's guaranteed first seed, honestly. So let's just move on to macro data, which is, go ahead, Fausto.
Another thank you to Angelus for creating a squad in such a short amount of time. I'll be honest with you, I'm one of the few people that don't do the CTF draft league. I don't know a lot of these players. The last time I played CTF PL was with Smurfs back in the day, and I had my only CTF PL ring, so I know a handful of people here. I'm assuming Yosh or Albert's going to be leading this group. I've played with Yosh, I've played with Albert. Albert did a phenomenal job with Tank many moons ago. And I know Angelus can touch on who's going to be the actual leader. I'm excited to see what these guys have to offer, and I really do hope that you guys improve week over week, just like Dark Slayers did last season. It's fun to watch. It's great to hear when the community sees you improving, and I'm glad that you guys are being receptive to criticism, good and or bad, right? And so I think the players to watch are going to be the great Chompy, for sure. I'm going to say Grump, and I'm going to say Yosh. Those are my 3 players to watch on this squad. I do see them edging out at on the 5th seed, right above Evolution.
All right, fair enough. Easoe?
Yeah, definitely. As Fausto mentioned, I want to give a shout out to these guys. Even just last night, they boosted the population. I haven't seen that many players in pub in a while, so I just want to say huge thanks to you guys. As far as the squad itself, macro data, I have them finishing up at number 5. I feel like they're going to have kind of a similar path to Dark Slayers last season, where they're going to kind of have it rough at first, but eventually once people kind of start getting it down, because I know Hearthbull's like one of the players to watch, and I can't remember the last time he played SK, but I know he does, or he did at one point, I should say. So once these guys kind of start getting into the flow USL positioning and knowing what to do, they're going to get a lot better. As I had said, they're going to finish as a number 5 seed for sure. And then as far as players to watch out, great Chompy. I feel like that was actually a huge pickup for them, so I'm happy they grabbed him up. And then Hearthbull, as I had mentioned, and then obviously Yosh is going to be pretty much carrying the load of leadership and getting these guys where they need to go and kind of the understanding of the game itself. So yeah, I'm excited to see the squad. Like I said, again, just huge shout out to you guys for populating USL again and public. So thank you.
All right, Angelus, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I could spend 15 minutes talking to my guys up and down about how great they are and everything, but I'll try to keep it short. First off, congrats to Fausto for the Season 8 CTFPL Championship on Smurfs. I was also on that squad under the alias Dende, so I guess we did it years ago. As far as the squad, you guys kind of touched on it. Yosh is doing most of the leading for us. He's volunteered, so he's teaching us everything from like weapon types and classes to angles and when to push and learning the maps and everything. Albert's kind of our secondary comms, so Albert's got some leading experience. As we do more and more SBs throughout the season, we can hopefully stay active. We'll have them kind of changing it up just so we get used to both their leadership styles, because we don't know what availability looks like 8 or 9 weeks down the road. Some players to look out for that haven't really been talked about a lot. I would not throw myself out there. I don't think I'm going to be great as far as like mechanics, but I do think we have some on the squad. Exodus is one that comes to mind for me. I think a lot of people know about Chompy in this zone. So Chompy was an up-and-comer in CTF last year around the same time. Axis is a long-time CTF for a little bit of skirmish, but not many people know about him. I think he could have a nice ascent through the season. He seems to have the natural skill and the will to get better, so if there's someone to watch other than Chompy, I think it's Exodus. As far as where we're going to finish, I'd, again, love to come on here and say we're going to take down Sav and these guys, but somewhere around 5 or 6 sounds good to me. Just want to keep getting better week to week.
Gotcha. All right, Grump.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have touched on, the various points I want to hit. So I'll jump right into, players to watch. I'm going to throw out, just like Kelby, I'm going to throw out 2 names of people who are not traditional skirmishers. One is Ruler. He's been practicing quite a bit. Switched to mouse just to learn how to play SK. I think he's going to do really well. And the other one, unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say it, but I think our user is actually going to play fairly decently this league. He also seems to have a bit of some passion and some drive to learn it. Other than that, I think 5th or 6th place for us, but we're probably going to have the most fun. So that's my analysis.
All right, Splittah.
Yeah, for me, I think this is going to be the team for me to watch just because they got a lot of seasoned CTF players. From what I'm hearing, some of the best CTF players coming over to SK. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a learning curve, but I just expect them to kind of grasp it probably towards the end of the season. Then you obviously have great leaders like Yosh that's going to be helping them. And then not to mention the fact that I've been playing with Chompy quite often, and his Ranger, I think, might be maybe top 2, if not top 1. It's only honestly, it's only 2 that I've seen that's really good. It's between him and Mountain. And then just like Easoe mentioned, Hearthball. Hearthball in the past, he was a phenom. I mean, in SK, he just randomly came, and then I was like, "Who's this guy?" And then all of a sudden, you see this guy just with perfect aim movement. He came out of nowhere back in those days. I could expect that he could do the same thing again. Obviously, he did it in the past, but he's definitely not one to sleep on. Then you obviously have Albert, which was a great leader as well in the past. So there's a lot of things in the squad that kind of like makes me question how good they could be. I mean, again, this season's going to be rough just because a lot of them are learning the ropes, but the sky is definitely their ceiling because they have what it takes for a potential win in the future.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna throw out a name that Grump took Ruler from me, and Easoe or Angelus took out Exodus from me. So I'm gonna say Desi, and I say Desi because he plays heavy in CTF, and I feel like he would be a natural for demo. I've been told he's a really good support, so he might look at medic, but I would love to see him pick up the demo class, especially on EC. For this first week, I think he would be very deadly with it. And my thing is with Yosh leading, and I kind of noticed it when I wanted him to take over leading for me last season, which was part of the reason I recruited him last season or talked him into playing. There are times where he wants to control and be methodical and slow about it, but against some of the top teams, he kind of stagnates and he end up getting surrounded, right, or out angled. So hopefully he keeps people moving. He doesn't stay in one spot too long, and just is control with it. But other than that, that's it for our squad breakdowns. I mean, we kind of already did the seedings in the middle of all that as well, so we can go right into week 1 predictions, which I'm assuming the first match is going to be Macro Data at Cocaine. The only available time slot, unless we double up, is 8:45. So Fausto, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, say that it's gonna be the first game probably will be, Macrodata at Cocaine, and I think Cocaine has home. And so, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna give this obviously to Cocaine, just based off pure experience and lineup. I think it's gonna be a good match for Macrodata to have, mainly because they're gonna see weaknesses. I'm sure they're gonna get some. They're gonna review the VOD and talk about what happens, after the game and whatnot, which should make them better. So I'm glad that they're facing the number 2 squad as their first week. Players to watch out for here. I'm gonna, even though just because he's on here, but my boy Easoe's gonna light it up. He's gonna pick up them CTFPL dudes for sure. I think Pister's gonna just want to push, and push. I see this getting out of hand quickly. I do see a pretty large margin victory. I would say of within 60 to 70 worth of margin in favor of Cocaine. And yeah, so my players to watch are going to be Easoe, Mountain for sure, and Kevin as support.
All right, Easoe.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tough draw for first match. Them being Macro Data being so new into USL. I kind of wish they would have got somebody else, as far as like Evolution or even Franco Tirador. But as Fausto had mentioned, they're going to have some issues with this match, but I hope they use it more so as a learning experience. As far as players to look out for, Cocaine is definitely going to take the match. I would say by about anywhere between 85 to 90 kills. I mentioned it earlier, but definitely the Mountain's going to have a good season, so look out for him. I expect him to kind of lead in kills as far as this match goes, and then definitely look out for Pister's leading. I think he's going to have the guys positioned, kind of put on a masterclass as far as a show of how much he's progressed as a leader. That's definitely going to show in this match, and then also I feel like K and Split are going to put up a lot of kills as well. Yeah, definitely Cocaine will win it. Like I said, unfortunately, Macro Data just had that first draw of having the number 2 seed. They got to play in week 1.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, I mean, I gave them the 2 seed on my prediction as well. And like I said, I've played against a handful of them from last night's mixes and scrims and gotten thoroughly beat down. I'd love to pick my squad and say, yeah, we're going to come out and surprise everyone, but I'm not really expecting that the first week. I said it before, and I like what I think Easoe just said. We will take it as a learning opportunity, just like the SBs. We're at least recording them. The more tape we have, the more footage we can review, the more we can learn. If I had to pick someone to watch, I'd probably just say Mountain, because I played against him again yesterday and got totally obliterated. Was very outclassed. Maybe Pistor, a bit of a vendetta where he wants to get back at us for giving him a hard time in CTF. He may drop 20 or 30 on us. I'm not sure. But yeah, it'll be fun for us. We'll be good spirits going in, good spirits going out, and hope better when we play him the second time.
All right, Grump.
Yeah, I mean, I've been one of the more vocal people when I've been around saying that baselines need to get removed because there's no point in all that. But super thankful that Bowen kept them in for this game. I really do appreciate that. Shout out. That being said, I mean, they're gonna murder us, and but we're gonna get some real nice footage on all the things that we did wrong that Yosh can yell at us about afterwards. So that'll be fun. Players to watch. I'm gonna give it to Easoe. Just purely in the hopes that he'll go easy on me.
Split.
It's going to be pretty rough for Macro Data, obviously, because they're literally new to this whole zone. So yeah, to face the number 2, we all know that they're not going to look good in terms of the match. But I do expect Easoe and Mountain, those 2 specifically, to have some crazy amount of kills this game. And then you have Kevin and Pister and myself and pretty much everybody else that's going to probably be handing in some of those kills as well. But yeah, again, it's going to be rough just because lack of experience for them. Yosh, Angelus, from what I'm hearing, I mean, Angelus being very analytical, definitely going to use this as a learning curve. Probably get better from this match a lot.
Yeah, I agree with Fausto and Grump and that last bit you said there, Split. I think that it's actually a good thing that they drew Cocaine the very first week, because as I said in my prediction on the forums, like as the season progresses, they're only going to get better. So to take this match as a learning tool, because I know Andro records, but obviously we record as well while we're commentating, so they'll be able to see a bunch of different angles as to what's going on, for them to actually review and improve upon. That being said, I think, like you guys said, Cocaine's probably going to win by like 80 kills. UFL is up and running. Ratings are done, so pick Mountain because he will probably lead the kills in this game. And Easoe will follow. Same with Split, K. Like they're all gonna get their fair share of kills. So I think it's gonna be roughly. I would probably put it at 100 to 20 for Cocaine. Next matchup will be at 9:30, and that's gonna be K Dude at Dark Slayers. Go ahead, Fausto.
I think this one's gonna be I'm gonna say right off the rip, it's gonna be Kadu taking the victory on this one, just due to pure skill and some leadership there. I think it's still gonna be competitive. Not to say that it's gonna be a windfall. Now, everybody here on the panel knows that a line slide can happen at any moment, and so we're hoping that doesn't go that way. I think for my squad, since I lead, it's gonna be mainly slowing it down and being aware of our movements and putting ourselves in a position to where we can't just get angled from 4 to 5 different vantage points, right? I think we have a few shot callers on the thing. I'm going to rely heavily on our medics and players like Typhoon. One person we did not mention was Universal Soldier 2K did join the roster. We're looking to get him definitely some play time and be up there as a starting 8. However, I mean, at this point in time in the beginning of the season, first week, we don't match up directly to K Dude. I think it's going to be within a 20 to 30 kill margin in favor of K Dude. But I would like to rematch them later on in the season because I feel like we're going to steadily improve as activity continues to pick up. But no, definitely K Dude taking this victory in week 1.
All right, Easoe.
Yeah, I see K-Dude winning this one fairly easily. I would say about around 40 kills or so. Unfortunately, the one thing about Dark Slayers is everyone was really hyped and excited, based off what they did last playoffs. And I wish they would have kept their activity up because I think that would have been kind of a huge help for them. Because I think that's what's actually going to hurt them in this match specifically. Even though K-Dude has not as speed as a squad, I believe a lot of these guys have been playing with each other for so long, even though they kind of got a mix of two previous squads. A lot of these guys have already been playing with each other, so I think that's going to be huge for K-Dude. And I just see Dark Slayers kind of struggling in this match. Definitely going to lose it, as I mentioned, probably by 40 or 50 kills. As far as players that'll kind of stand out or will be deadliest, I would say definitely. I would say Saw, but it's kind of tough to tell with the squad. Like we kind of talked about it earlier. It's like who's going to show up week in and week out. I think that's going to be the biggest issue week 1. But yeah, I definitely, if Saw shows, he's going to be up there in kills. I don't know if Eric will show, so he would definitely be up there if he does. But definitely, I feel like Colossal and Iron are going to be kind of, right there with Saw because I definitely see them showing up almost every match and performing. So big win for K Dude against Dark Slayers.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, people keep referring to Dark Slayers as like the CTF squad, but for me, I mean, I look at K-Dude and right away I see like Sov, Iron, and Champion, and 20 years ago, those guys played some variety of CTF with me, so no loyalty to any of them. I expect K-Dude to take this. I'm actually excited to see Sov and Iron play. Hopefully they both show up and Sov doesn't lock Iron away like he does when they're competing against each other. But I've never seen these guys play skirmish. I've just heard the legends of this guy has 17 medals and this guy has 15. I'm not sure what that means yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, yeah, best of luck to Dark Slayers. I know they're putting time in and everything, but from what I've heard, K Dude's going to stomp everyone. So I'll say K Dude by 40.
All right, Grump.
Yeah, I think K Dude wins this one fairly easily. I think Easoe hit the nail on the head. Dark Slayers took some time off for the various CTF leagues. And who knows how long it's going to take them to get back to where they were at the end of last season. That being said, hearing that K-Dude hasn't scrimmed together at all, it's weird to hold Dark Slayers to one standard, but then say like it doesn't bother me for K-Dude. But I mean, they're just different teams, man. They're completely built different. So I'll say my players to watch on this one is going to be Colossal. That dude never takes a day off. Whenever there's a game, he's always coming chomping at the bit, looking for every kill he can get. I don't think any player has ever asked me for more laws than Colossal has. So I'm going to put him as my one to watch. And I'm going to also say K-Dude by 40.
All right, Split.
Kind of restating what everybody else was saying in regards to activity. Both teams haven't been active at all, which kind of sucks because the only hope that Dark Slayers would have, at least to even keep it somewhat competitive, would be them being active. We saw them last season perform spectacular towards the end of the season, even in playoffs, and then their activity just dissipated completely, gone. So because of that, I don't think it's going to be close. Had they been active, it could have been a lot closer, maybe within a 20, 30 kill margin. But since they're not active, yeah, I could see 40 or more on this. As for K-Dude, yes, the reason why the activity issue is not a problem for them is because they've done this before. Birds last season, they weren't active as well. I mean, funny enough, the weakest point for them is the first week because of the lack of activity. All they do need is 1 week of practice, and then they're in full form. We saw how TG does in the playoffs. And now you have Sov. It's just activity is not going to be the issue for them at all. Yeah, I do expect big things from Dark Slayers throughout the season, namely Typhoon, Fausto, Fly Molo kind of performing. And for K-Dude this match, I would imagine that Sov, Ernie, TG, and Colossal will be up there with a lot of kills. And I do expect Eric to do some nice solos. So yeah, it should be a pretty entertaining match nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip analysis just for time's sake. So we're gonna go into the next match, which will be K-Dude at Cocaine. My match of the week, 1 versus 2. So Fausto, go ahead.
I agree with Eric. Match of the week for sure. I'm excited to see this match. I know Cocaine's been the more active of the two squads, but honestly, I think everybody's been active because of the draft league over at CTF. I do still think that K-Dude's going to take this just based off pure power. But I do have a couple of things. I would like to see. I know Eric lifts a solo, so I would like to see Pister put Splittah to counter that solo because I need to see Splittah versus Eric 1v1 for 30 minutes straight. That's what I need to see. So
if Eric's down for Marine, I'll do it. I'm down.
That's my
You
challenge
go for an AT?
to Pister.
You go Marine, I go Marine. We'll do solos. I'm down.
That's my challenge to both Pister and TG, if they're both leading, is to do Splittah versus Eric solo, and let's see what happens there. Because both of these squads take advantage of opposing squads when they get that additional angle from a solo one-on-one victory, right? I do agree with Grump, what he said earlier about people like Jeff being a player to watch out for. He's great with laws. Shit, he lawed me in the playoffs last season when he was on Birds when I was pitching over top with one of my players. I forgot who it was over plus sign, which prevented us from taking that win. I do think that Easoe's gonna have a standout game. I think if Easoe is on flank with another aggressive Marine, maybe Mountain even, and a solid medic, I do see them being able to take a flank victory there. I'm still going to give it over to K-Dude, just like I said, pure self overall skill and leadership, but I think it's going to be a pretty close game within 15. I think it's going to come down to the wire in the last 8 minutes, and Cocaine's going to make a mistake for whatever reason. I don't know if Splittah's going to slip and fall against Eric 1v1, but I think K-Dude's going to take it by 15.
Go ahead, Easoe.
Yeah, I definitely agreed as far as seeing K-Dude take the victory on this one. Pretty excited for this match, actually. It's going to be a pretty good one. You got the number 1 seed, number 2 seed. For K-Dude, once again, it's just a matter of who's going to show. I feel like week 1 is going to be definitely one of their weaker lineups you'll see. It won't be anything compared to what you see in playoffs. Yeah, I definitely feel like it'll be a close match, though, so it'll be entertaining for everybody to watch. It'll be nice for USL Live. Hopefully it's not too slow. As far as Cocaine last season, they would slow things down so much. So I'm hoping this is more so action-packed and, both squads just fight each other. I know K-Dude definitely, will. And as far as players to look out for, Mountain, we've talked about him, definitely. I think Pister's going to have his best game as far as leading goes for us to have actual chance at winning. On the other side, also Leak, if he shows, is going to have a big impact, actually. As far as K-Dude, like I said, it's hard to tell who's actually going to show, but I definitely feel like we've talked about him, Colossal, Iron, and Sal are going to be kind of the leaders. And as far as, Medic Iron's going to be up there. And then kill-wise, Colossal and Sal will be up there as well. But I see them, K-Dude will take it by around, I'd say 10 kills. It's going to be a nice, fun match. Hopefully, like I said, more fighting, but it'll be close.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, I think with multiple people saying it's going to be close, I just want to deviate and pick the underdog. So I'm going to take Cocaine on this one. I think this will kind of light the fire for K-Dude. It sounds like the narrative you guys are putting out there is they've not done a whole lot of prep. They just assemble and they're going to roll everyone. If Cocaine has been practicing, maybe they can steal one of those week 1 games. We have that kind of thing happen in our CTF league historically. So yeah, I'll take the upset here. I think Cocaine steals the game from them. Mountain gets MVP with a huge game.
Okay, Grump.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to say basically essentially what Kelby said on that one. If there's a game this season that K-Dude's going to lose, it's going to be this one. Just they get caught a little bit rusty. Cocaine's never really stopped practicing. Those guys are absolute fiends when it comes to it. That being said, it's really hard for me to pick Cocaine on this one to win this game. But I think that it's going to be a razor thin margin. I'll give it like a 5 kill, like within one battle, either way. Players to watch out for. It's the same guys I've been saying so far, so I'll just skip it.
Okay, Split.
Yeah, I mean, K-Dude's definitely the favorite. I would say that it's going to be close like everybody else, probably within a 10 kill margin. Probably the biggest player for this match is definitively going to be Pister. His leading is basically going to be the difference maker. K-Dude, because of the lack of activity, as well as what we saw from Birds last season's first week, etc., they're usually weak the first week because of the lack of activity, so that's probably our best chance to beat them. Because of that, I do think that it is definitely going to be close, and hopefully they don't keep practicing.
I will chime in a little bit on this one just because it is match of the week, 1 versus 2. I think that first and foremost, we have the match right before that. So whoever's going to be playing in that match will be. It only takes one. It only takes one SB for most of these guys to right their wrongs, right? So against DS at 9:30, and then this match is 10:15. I think the activity won't be an issue, and whoever's soloing for K-Dude isn't going to run into a true solo for Cocaine. In the playoffs last season, I ran into Mountain a lot as a solo. I think you're going to see, especially with a vocal player like Easoe, I think you're going to see kind of ambushes. Mountain's going to look for the flank while another solo distracts whoever is soloing for K-Dude. So I still think K-Dude, we take it, but I'd probably say around that 10 to 15 kill margin. So next up will be Baxter Squad versus Evo. Go ahead, Fausto.
So it's Evolution versus Franco Tiradores. And I'm going to say this on this one. Unfortunately for Bowen and team, I think Baxter Squad's going to take it pretty easily. I think the players to watch out for had mentioned previously were going to be Pandy and Sabotage for sure. And Octavian are going to be the 3 players to watch that are kind of really break battles open for Baxter Squad. And on the leading department, once again, they have the better medics, pound for pound. No disrespect to Bowen and his team there. Obviously, it's just one. They're a new squad. They're trying to get the meshing to gel together. I'm not too sure who's going to be leading full time, or if it's going to be a mixture of Bowen and Smackrock leading or co-leading. But there definitely needs to be a shot caller in that squad. I think if Baxter Squad focuses on the medics on Evolution, it's pretty much game over, lights out, and it's going to be a 60-point margin in favor of Franco Tiradores. I would like to say that this is going to be a fun match to watch, but I think it's going to be fun in the beginning, but it's going to get out of hand at the probably 20-minute mark. I think the score is going to be within a 60 disparity.
Okay, Easoe.
Yeah, this match definitely is. I was hoping it'd be close and competitive. Unfortunately, I don't really see that happening. Backs definitely, we mentioned it earlier, but put together a pretty good lineup. When you kind of look at them side by side, Evolution and Franco Tiradores, you definitely see there's a huge difference as far as the skill gap. So I definitely see them, backs the squad taking it. I actually see it by a bigger margin. I could definitely see them taking this by like 60 to 70 kills easily. I do see Evolution, getting a few battles, taking like 2 to 3 battles maybe. I just feel like they're definitely going to be outgunned, unfortunately. As far as players to watch for this match here, I'm actually gonna look for H, or I think it's Flo. I feel like this is a match where he's gonna be. I believe he'll ripper and he'll be able to kind of pick these guys off. So I expect a huge game for him, kind of unknown in SK. So that'll be a nice, welcome to the league. And then also Hop and Sabotage. Hop is going to be getting a lot of good angles. I feel like he's going to break open a lot of battles just because of his experience playing on top squads. So this should definitely be a show-out game for them. And yeah, they're definitely going to win this by a pretty big margin.
Okay, Angelus.
Yeah, for me, I will take Bax's squad in this one just based on learning only a little bit about Bowen's squad tonight. The player I really want to see play is actually Bax because I've seen him play a couple of draft leagues where he puts in minuscule troll amount of efforts into playing, but he reminds us all that he's the best player in skirmish. So I just want to see it. I've never seen it before, so looking forward to watching him play.
Okay, Grump.
Yeah, thanks, Easoe. I didn't realize that H was Flo. I mean, I think he's actually going to be a real difference maker on this squad. Yeah, it's sort of the genesis of his play. But yeah, Franco, whatever Fausto keeps saying, I think they're going to win this one probably by a large margin. I think Bax is going to have red in his eyes for Bowen's squad. I think they're going to come ready to play, and I think it's going to be a little bit rough on Evolution. So I'll give it to H player to watch, and Franco some things for up by 60.
Okay, Split.
Yeah, it's not going to be close. I'm definitely going to give it to Franco over Evo on this one. And the player that I'm going to say that's going to probably be the most standout, funny enough, is Bax. He's going to be leading, and he's also going to be pushing first. So I would imagine that he would be getting the most kills this match. Inclusive with that, you have Sabo and Hop and the Mocked. All these players are seasoned players. I think that it's probably going to be like at least a 60 kill margin for this game.
All right, and that wraps up the week 1 predictions. I know I was advertising for mailbag. I think Fausto and Split both were as well, but for sake of time, I want you guys to quickly sort through what you got and pick 2. I'll start with the 2 that I have, and we'll go from there. So the first one that I have is it goes kind of well talking about K-Dude is I've heard a lot of chatter about stacking. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing with who you want to play with. It's fun having a team at the top that needs to be dethroned, and it's fun being a team that is a underdog going against these teams and coming out with a win or near win. What's the opinion on stacking? Is this an actual problem, or are people just whiny? I'm going to direct this to Angelus first, because I'm pretty sure he may or may not be considered a stacker in CTF. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely have history with that in CTF. I've never had an issue with it. I got my first real big win in CTF, taking down the stacked BDS squad of Legend back in the day. It was the most exciting win I ever had playing this game. So I'm all for people playing with whoever they want to play with. For my group, we're called Stackers in CTF, but the truth is most of us have known each other inside and outside the game now for 20 plus years. So yeah, we have some of the top players, but we're just a group of nerds that like playing together. I'm all for it. Play with whoever you want to play with.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I actually had a few questions about that as well. Actually, 3 questions about that same question that you have. Kind of touching on that. I mean, I've played for stack squads in the past as well, but I think the issue that a lot of people are having here is the fact that you had TG and company that have been progressively, like currently the best squad, and then you then add on, great players like Sav and Iron, etc., and then you have like this now super exceptional. Basically, the question is it really required? You know what I mean? Is there a possibility for, if how should I say this? If we were to take 3 players out of that squad, would that change the whole dynamics of this league? Like for instance, if we had Sav and Iron, etc., leave and join, Dark Slayers, what would happen then? You know what I mean? And I think that's actually a valid point too, because when you look at it, 1 and 2, kind of close, but 1 and 3 and 1 and 4, not so close. And I think that's the problem here.
Okay.
I'm gonna chime in a little bit on this. I think stacking is fun when you're on the stack squad, and so I get it playing with friends and knowing each other for many, many years, and I'm sure the people on K-Dude, I mean, they've all played for many, many years, right? I am not for it. I am against stack squads. I've been on stack squads many, many seasons ago, years ago, but I'd like to, and now I like to just focus my time on getting a squad better. But I will say that having a stack squad in a season is good for the 2nd and 3rd seed. Why? Because people like Easoe on cocaine and Splittah on cocaine and people like me on Dark Slayers want to beat K-Dude. And we're going to try that much harder, play that much smarter to beat that stack squad. Right? Now, obviously, there's different levels to stack. Some might say that cocaine is stacked, which it is a stack squad, but compared to K-Dude, it isn't. Right? It isn't so fun for the bottom tier squads, I would say. Like the evolutions of the world, it isn't that fun because you're just getting beat week after week. And so I commend those people that show up and show out every single day, every single week, knowing they're going to lose, but their goal is to get better. I'm technically speaking against stack squads, but I understand why it's a necessary evil, and I think it benefits the 2nd and 3rd seed for many seasons to come.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I've been on both sides of it, right? Like when I first started Skirmish, one of the first squads I ever joined, and I hate to admit it, it was STL squad, and the first game I ever unspec'd into in USL was against Semper Fi, and I was held at my base the entire game. As in free infantry, like I'm kind of with Angelus here. You play with who you like playing with, etc. It is fun being able to contend with the supposed top squad, though. Fausto, you and I beat New Hope together, which was a quote-unquote mega stack as well. That was when Kippa still actually played. And that was probably the most fun in a match that I've had in a while. But, yeah, I mean, that's really it. I think if we were to see something like the draft league ever come back or salary cap ever come back, I think that would be something that would kill the league, kill the population. So that would be the only way to stop stacking from happening is if the salary cap happens. So there's always going to be a season that a mega stack happens unless everybody just decides either A, not to play, or decide, as some people like to say, for the better of the league, split up a little bit. But those are my thoughts on it. Anybody else? Grumpy?
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, like if you are going to get upset about stack teams, then just advocate for every league to be a draft league. Like you can't help if the best players are all friends with each other, then they're going to play together. It is what it is, and nobody should really be sacrificing their own enjoyment of the game so that the league can have a more sort of arbitrarily competitive thing. And to Fausto's point, if you keep nerfing the competition so that people can, have matches that are closer, you're you're only going to, decrease the overall competition. So stack away and or play draft leagues.
Yeah, Easoe, you got anything?
Not really. Same as everybody else. Play with who you want to play with. There was a time when this game was completely dead, so just enjoy it. Play with, your buddies. That's it.
All right, and then the last one I have is Sov and Iron are anointed awards before the season even starts, even though they are always on the best rostered teams. When have they ever had to carry players like Splittah, Pister, or Kevin? Thoughts on why no one is talking about Easoe or the Mountain for some awards with the roster they have to carry? Anybody?
I mean,
I'll go ahead.
you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Alright.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, Iron could play with any squad and he would shine. He would carry them. Um, I think you see it in mixes. You see him when he NTs. That's the biggest reason why people are talking about them pretty much running away with the award is, he's got that skill and that talent.
Go ahead, Fausto.
Yeah, I think these two guys, they live up to the hype. I mean, it is what it is. Like, not everybody knows it. I mean, they're consistent whether they're NTing for a mid-tier, bottom-tier squad. If they would join XYZ squad, they're still gonna either rank, get most heal points, get most kills, get most assist points. They're gonna find a way to be in the top of their game because they want to be in the top of their game. They're in the top squad season after season because top players gravitate towards them. It is what it is. So I'm sure that question was to be a little vindictive in nature, but I will say that you got to give credit where credit's due. Yes, I know that TJ and company did beat them at one point, but they are definitely top players, and it doesn't matter what squad they're on.
Yeah, I will touch up on the second portion of that of when have they ever had to carry like lower tier players, quote unquote lower tier players. They carried Palm, Jane, and I forget who else was on that squad to the champs. They lost in the championship game, but Sov and Iron took what was the 4th seed at the time out of 5 squads and brought them to champs. So they have that under them, but yeah, I mean, you guys have already touched on it. Sov is arguably not even arguably. Sov is the best killer and leader in the game. TG obviously beat him once, can't take that away from him. But historically, right now in free infantry, best leader in the game. Iron, historically, best medic in the game. It's kind of just stats don't lie.
I mean, I will also say, like, just to jump in, I think that Mountain and Easoe should definitely be in consideration for these awards. But I also don't think that the players that were listed in that question are, they're not getting carried by Easoe and Mountain. Like, those guys they're all good in their own right. But I do think, if Easoe and Mountain outperform, like, they definitely should be looked at for these awards over Sov and Iron if they deserve it.
Pister, Kevin, and myself were lower tier. We would never even be considered number 2. Matter of fact, we probably would never even go to the championship last season, right? So I think that question was more of a troll.
Hold on,
more than
Split. I
anything
will
else.
say that was
Yeah.
one of your own squad members that sent me that. So,
Okay.
as a heads up.
No, it's definitely a troll. Definitely a troll. But thank you, Easoe. Continue.
It wasn't even Easoe though.
No?
No.
And his victim? Who is it? I need to know. Okay,
Nope,
continue.
I can't give away the anonymous source, dude. Split, you said you had a few. Just try and narrow it down to 2 just because we're at a little over an hour.
Okay, I'll start with the spicy one. After Eric losing in the first round without Sov, there he now runs back to Sov because he couldn't win without him. Is Eric really good, or is he just being carried by better players?
100% carry, dude. I'm bad. No, I honestly was. So in my defense, I thought K-Dude was originally a troll squad. I thought it was just because I talk to Sav every day, right? And I usually figure out if he plans on playing. If not, he said he was up in the air again, kind of like he was last season. And then I saw him join TG, and I was like, okay, this is definitely a troll squad. So I joined, and it turned out to be a real squad. So now I'm like, here we are. I have moments. I don't think I'm that great, but I do think I have the ability to play with the best of them, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Eric's trash as much as I talk trash to him. I do think that he talks trash to players that he should have talked trash to, right? Especially like the leaders that are in the league. And I hope that after last season that he kind of learned a lesson in terms of like, what it takes to win versus any squad, and how difficult it is to lead and put up numbers and do all these sorts of things, I think for Eric, he led in the past, but in this new realm of USL, that the hardship is real, and that's why we were saying before that the key, the glue, is always going to be the leaders. And Saw being that guy was definitely the piece that was kind of molding them in terms of championship caliber level. Not saying that they weren't great players, but at one point I remember Mecca putting out a post saying that he like listed all you guys being gods and demigods, and because you guys won all these rings, and nothing, not trying to diss you guys for whatever. It's just the fact that you remove Saw from that, will those rings happen, right? And that's the question mark that's always been there. Granted that every team needs a good leader, right? But that's where I always had difficulty with Eric, dissing leaders or teams that are, that don't have a soft type of leader, et cetera, trying to compete. And I really hope that he learned a lesson in regards to all that.
Well, I'm gonna say I mean I haven't really seen Eric diss other leaders in the game, aside from maybe you Split. I don't know why. I mean he's never told me anything. I mean, but then again, you haven't told me anything either, and I haven't told you all anything either. I think I'm glad that Eric brought Sparta back previously. It was fun to compete, and you know what? There was a match when he was not able to make it. I think he was at a bar or something celebrating, but Mecca led, and they played very well as well. So yes, while I do think a leader is very important, I think a co-leader and shot callers are just as important on a squad. Now, I don't know the relationship that Eric and Salv have. He says they talk every day, so they're friends, right? I mean, whether he ran to Salv or not is beside the point. I think people play with who they play, whether I agree with stack squads or not. I think everybody kind of can agree on that. I'm sure Split, you play with Pister and company because you enjoy playing with Pister and company. You know what I mean? And I think that you can't really knock somebody for that. Now, if there's more to the juicy details that you have of Eric talking shit, I mean, by all means say it, but I haven't seen him talk shit too much in terms of two other leaders. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, I thought talk shit to pretty much a lot of players, so I don't know at this point how many people he talks shit to. But again, the humbling effect. I hope that Eric humbles himself down now. That's all I hope.
I only really talk shit to you, Split. Let's be real.
That's what I figured.
Well, I hope you humble yourself down on talking shit to me too, then. Because last season was definitely a learning lesson. You lost that type of credibility. I'll tell you that much.
Fausto, you said you got a few mailbag questions.
Is that anybody else going to answer that question, or are we done with that?
Hold on, I think I have one more. I mean, I have more than one, but let me just see if I can see if I can pull out another decent one that hasn't been said.
While you're looking for that question, but I will say that Eric has been trolling since I've known him for like 20 plus fucking years, and he's gonna pick on the people that get affected and get annoyed and get that take the bait. So just an FYI, I know how Eric mind works.
Get out of my head, dude.
Shut up, Fausto.
I mean,
Come on,
the
man.
thing about me is if you talk shit, you know me, I talk shit back, right? So
That's what
so
Eric
long
wants.
as the best way to put it is if you talk shit to me and you're cool with me talking shit back, then that's all it's all fun and games by me too. Um I just want to see if there's a spicy one. So you can look at yours too right now, Foster, as well. Or anybody else for that matter. Because I have a lot.
Foster, go ahead
And I don't want
and rattle
Yeah.
one off while he's looking.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Mine aren't too spicy except for one. This one kind of piggybacks on the one. I forget. I don't know whose it was, but what would happen if we grabbed the best medics in the league and put them on the worst squads, and then took the worst medics in the league and put them on the best squads? Is that all it takes to not have a somewhat predetermined championship?
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, yeah, the medics make. I would say the medics are the heart of the team, right? And I've seen it multiple times over and over again. Even if you have one weak medic, just one, it changes everything. You have to have two stellar medics at all times for you guys, for us, for a team to survive. Survivability is all based on the medics. We saw even in the playoff matches that cocaine, etc. It was our medics that were really like stand out. Throughout the season, it was our medics that were putting us in that was keeping us alive every battle. So yeah, I would say the medics they're up there. If I was to say what's the most important, it's leadership and then medics.
So, I'm gonna bring an interesting point to this. Before Sov stopped medding, right? Like every season, and Iron started winning the Met Award, Sov was winning the Met Award, right? And the season that Warhawks beat Sov and Iron were medding. So you had arguably the best meds with really good killers versus TG, which the lineups were very, very similar, right? So you took Sov away from a killing class and put him as a medic. Again, arguably the number 1 and 2 duo in terms of meds, and we lost. So I think when it comes to the lower tier squads, swapping like the best meds from, let's say, the best meds from Dark Slayers go to Evolution, and Evolution's meds, I'm not saying like they're the best or the worst, but Evolution's meds go to Dark Slayers. Does Evolution then find a way to upset Dark Slayers? Maybe. But it also, it's an interesting one. I think the killing power means more.
I mean, this question doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Do we really think that if Iron and you said Fairfax are going to be medding for K-Dude, if they leave and join Evolution, and then Evolution's 2 meds go to K-Dude, we really are saying that Evolution is now going to upset K-Dude? Like, I think that's insane. I think they might both drop one, or like I think K-Dude might drop maybe one role or a spot in the rankings. But I think that's the same thing if you take any team's 2 starters and swap them to another team. Are they going to be as strong?
I do think a good captain, a good leader, similar to what Split has echoed in this in the show here, is that a leader's going to adjust to the players they have on their field, the players they have on their squad. So if a good leader, if he knows his weakest points are his 2 medics, he's going to instill on his Marines and support classes that they need to go to the medics, they need to block for the medics. That's what a good leader should do. So to the point, like Grump was saying, I think the question in theory can make sense or can work, but when you put it in actual gameplay format with the squads that we have right now, it'd be very difficult for the number 6 seed to upset the number 1 seed when you swap the medics out. Same thing with the number 5 seed with the number 2 seed, regardless of what medics are where. When you got the Marines like Splittah and Easoe and Leak and all that, combating, you know, the players on the 5th seed squad, which, mind you, Pandy and or no, not Pandy, Macrodetta's people are on there. Angelus and Exodus and all them. I mean, Cocaine's still going to win, right?
Yeah, and I just want to ask, what the fuck's a squeed?
Really? why don't you pronounce Bax's squad name for once, asshole?
Nope.
Yeah, thank you.
Franco Di Cosco.
Okay, dude.
All right. Split, did you find your second one yet?
Yeah. I
You
can
already
go
did
off this
two.
one. No, I only did one, but you can go. Go ahead, Fausto.
No,
I'll
no, go
wait.
ahead. You just speak very slow. It's okay. Go ahead and go.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so this is actually a two-parter, and it's in regards to the bio darts. Okay, at this point, most squads have had a chance to SB with bio darts. How do they feel about the inclusion of bio darts for this upcoming season?
I think it's an
So how do you
interesting
guys?
tool. I feel like I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Fax complaining that meds just seemed outgunned and just kind of fodder, right? So I like the idea of a medic having another survivability tool. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're the medic and you hug a physic real quick, like the other side of a physic, and hit the bio dart on the physic, does it or does it not heal you? I don't know. I haven't practiced with it.
It
But
heals you.
oh, perfect. There you go. So it's a nice tool to give medics another survivability against what Fax was trying to argue, saying that they were fodder. Other than that, I really don't have much more on it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think actually, even us being with it and seeing people pull it off, seeing Iron pull it off was exceptional. I'm kind of hoping to see the same with Havoc and etc. They both have equivalent aim. Victim too. I think it's actually really cool to see. And I like the inclusion of it as well. But I will add to this question a little bit. Uh, the inclusion of BioDart will allow for some exciting plays to occur that otherwise would never be possible. Does the panel think that this inclusion of the BioDart will introduce new names to the Medic Award for this upcoming season?
I mean, I do like the BioDart edition. I think it's gonna be fun, a new take on an ever-changing game. I don't think it's gonna add new names to the meds that we currently have. If anything, I think it might do the opposite. I think it's gonna separate the top tier medics versus the lower tier medics. Personally, I think that's what's gonna happen.
I definitely agree with you. Because of the aim factor of it, how many players, how many medics specifically can pull that off, like that shot? Um, it's not simple. I mean, obviously the Marines, etc., have to be aware when they shoot the bio darts as well. But when players like Iron, Havoc, etc., shoot their shot, it's like perfect shots, right? You don't even have to move. Versus another medic, which you have to be very attentive to. So yeah, I do think there's a skill gap to BioDart, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out this season as well.
I don't know, man. I will say that, Fax, when active, he's considered a top medic, yes. Him and I mixed together last night, and he couldn't hit a bio dart to save his life. I think he hit 1 out of maybe 30. So that skill expression, man.
I think what like this topic is focused a lot on like what it's going to do for the meds. But I think you also need to think like what squads are going to benefit the most from the biodart. And teams like K-Dude, which have people who are extremely good at pushing while not taking damage, and pushing for those big wide angles that you're giving their meds who are also out of their mind good at this game. You're giving them long range cross map heals or cross screen rather heals. Like, I think that's very different than some of the lower tier meds like me or anybody else. Like, I don't think that the 30 HP heal or whatever it is from Biodart is going to be that much more noticeable on a team like Macro Data versus K-Dude. So for that reason, I don't think that it's going to really upset the med rankings that much, because this is going to make the best teams look even better.
All right, Fausto, you got your other question?
Yeah, I have a two-parter here. I had a few questions about the Ranger class. I'm going to read one. There has been some controversy over the power level of Ranger in the off-season. How viable does the panel see Ranger being in the upcoming season? What is the appropriate way to play Ranger in serious matchups?
Good question. I'll start with that. I was doing testing on Ranger with Chompy, etc. And then also got to see it in the game as well. Ranger, I would say right now it's probably second strongest class, only second to the LMG. So basically, LMG being number 1, Ranger, then potentially AT or Marine, I guess. I don't know, with those being considerations. But yeah, it's definitely a difference maker. Obviously, the changes really brought some fluidity with the. Basically, you could shoot all 3 weapons at the same time. Basically, so you can shoot the knife with no reload, really, right after with the snipe, and then you can clip with the MP5. Like I was mentioning earlier, you add players that have really good aim, like Chompy and SV. You're going to see a whole difference to that whole class, and it's going to be very viable this upcoming season. Great changes that MP made. Really kudos to MP as a whole, because he's been really doing all these changes for us. We never even mention him half the time, but without his help, we would never even have exciting seasons like we've been having.
I will say I think Ranger is going to be map dependent. I think it's going to be viable on EC. I think it's going to be viable on something like Urban Decay. Because I think in the mid-range, because of the changes, like you mentioned, that you can literally snipe and immediately throw a throwing knife, that damage is like an 80 HP burst, I think, something like that, maybe even a one-hit kill. And then you follow it up with the MP5, but that's mid-range. I think a skilled Marine is going to be able to check that and keep them at distance and expose them. I think on maps like KR, KS10, I don't think it's going to be viable.
Anybody else?
My only issue with Rangers, just kind of mentioned earlier, is that load time. Like it was said, you can fire almost every, you can fire MP5, you can do throwing knife, you can hit the snipe, and then pretty much 2-3 seconds later, your MP5 is up ready to go again. So that's only the issue I have with it. It's nice to see a new class just kind of work on that reload time.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, Chompy told me that every competitive team is going to have a Ranger in every single game. So for that reason, I think, yes, it's overpowered. It's really good. And nobody should be playing without it.
All right, fair enough. Well, that wraps up the preseason / week 1 predictions. I thank everybody for joining USL Live, and we'll see you next week.
Know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And when he'd finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the dark, the gambler, he broke even. In his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. Know when to fold up, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.